Employers of Reddit, what can someone put on a resume that sends it straight to the shredder? Okay, I was a writing tutor at the college level for 10 years. We also helped graduates of the university. I swear I am not making this up. A graduate came in, who had worked teaching English in Japan, and had worked at other positions for a few years after getting his degree. The profile section at the head of his resume listed accomplishments, including, "I have climbed Mount Fuji fueled only by Quaaludes and caffeine." He was crestfallen when I told him that although I was duly impressed by this feat, he really needed to remove it. Resumes that have nothing to do with the advertised job, or with the field. I'm a scientist and I get somewhere between dozens to close to 100 unsolicited resumes every year. 99 of them go immediately to the digital shredder because they have a skill set completely orthogonal or unrelated to what I do, even though they claim that their skill set would be a perfect fit. I mean, on what planet would someone hire an immunologist to run simulations of gamma rays from neutron star mergers? This is almost as bad as what I routinely get. Not a business owner, but I'm part of the interview loop, and the ones I always refuse to see are the ones who worked for 6 months or less and bounce to the next thing. I get job hopping is a thing, and I've participated, but you need to at least commit 2 years. And once or twice where it didn't work out is one thing. But I've gotten several people with 2 or 3 months at each job, and I'm not looking for anybody like that. You can barely learn your new routine and technologies in that time, if you even can. On more than one occasion, I got a resume from the same person for an entry-level position. The first time I got it, the resume entry-level position was 5 pages long and a laundry list of every job the dude has ever held from high school forward. What will forever stand out to me is his entry for when he worked at JCPenney. He put the job description as helping customers find stuff. Yes, that's technically the job, but assisting customers with locating merchandise sounds so much better on a resume. I had someone once put mom to child actor and she listed that she homeschooled on set and managed their schedule and things of that nature. I had someone else who put babysitting Daniel, she made him eat his vegetables among other things. It was cute. My absolute favorite was a guy who wrote his attributes landscape in italics on a piece of paper that had a background of a unicorn on a cliff with a sunset. He came and asked for it back when he wasn't hired. This happened in the 80s. One of my grandmother's tenants approached my dad to see if his company's subsidiary to a Fortune 500 has a sales manager position. My dad said, "Sure, send me your resume." So a few days later the tenant handed his resume to my dad. It was the tenant's name card stapled to an A4 size blank paper. "Dad, is that it?" Tenant: "Yes." So my dad folded his resume, took it to his car, and threw it in the trash on the way back home. Had a guy put on his resume that he invented the dollar, owned Microsoft and Google and Ford, was an astronaut, and found in New Zealand. This was when I managed an Aldi store and he was applying as an associate. But he was clear to say on his resume that our business model could be vastly improved with his expertise. I almost brought him in for an interview just for fun, but I couldn't really find the time along with the real applicants. Unformat your resume. Block of text. Opening statement as follows. I want job. To be fair, this was a job placement school facility for those looking to grow their English skills and ability. The issue with this fellow was that he refused help in building an appropriate North American resume. It's difficult to send a resume like that to clients, many of whom are international, and requiring a certain command of the English language. Some resume templates include a bar graph feature which is supposed to highlight the person's skills. But when someone puts things like organization 70, communication 90, customer service 85, they might think they are impressing the employer, but the employer is thinking, why isn't customer service 100? You are effectively saying this is the best I can do and there's nothing you can do about it. So just leave those bar graphs off. I'm sure a lot of us have made mistakes on our CVs. I once changed my email address but forgot to change to .com and the interviewer asked me about it at the end of an interview for a job I did not get. The worst I've seen is from a girl named Claire. What an interesting name, is it Irish? My colleague showed me the application form handed in alongside the CV, where Claire had managed to spell her own name right. I once got a resume with the worst formatting and grammar. It was clear the person was a non-native English speaker. I don't usually do this, but I recreated her resume, reorganized it and corrected grammar spelling mistakes and sent it back to her. I hope she got a job. She wasn't a good fit based on her resume, otherwise I would have given her the benefit of the doubt and at least interviewed her. Had an application for a management position at a public library. Job listing specified that English Master's in Library and Information Science degree is required. Got an application from one person who was attending community college, earning an associate's degree in music. Their only management experience was running a K-pop fan club. Another person spelled the library's name incorrectly. I once received a resume in the mail that had no telephone number, address or email. He called a few days later to ask why he hadn't received any reply. I asked him to get a copy of his resume so we could review it together. I asked him to tell me the address we might have replied to, then the telephone number, and finally the email. After the long pause, he said, "Ah, fucking hung up. My old boss got one that was so good we pinned it on the wall." It was an application for a liquor clerk in boilerplate form. The only things filled out was her first name, her address as homeless, her education as high school, not the name of the school, which was what was actually asked, and her desired pay was 80 proof. She wasn't disheveled or anything, so it was just so weird. Not a resume, but occasionally someone will cold message me on LinkedIn, and whenever I can I'll reply if it's a student looking for guidance in my file, then take a call and talk them through some shit they should know. Anyhow, one of those messages began, "Dear Mr. Name, I hope this message finds you in the pink of your health." I'm still not fully over that. I've never thrown out a resume for something egregious, but I will never forget my interview with an underdog candidate, where when I asked him what got him interested in that particular role, a corporate IT gig, he shrugged his shoulders and said, "I don't know. It's a job." In the words of Tyra Banks, "I was rooting for you, we were all rooting for you." My mother was on the library board of our small town public library. They were looking for a librarian part-time, 3 days a week. One resume they received came in handwritten on notebook paper that had been torn out of a spiral-bound notebook. Frayed edges, the whole 9 yards. Like a junior high school essay question. For a job as a librarian. Well, guy made it through the resume but almost didn't make it through the onboarding paperwork. Entry-level position, guy was 19 I think. Nice enough kid, low life experience, but that's how it all starts, right? Emergency contact info. Name mom. Relationship good. X200B. Like if we called your mom, and you were hurt, she'd care. I work in IT. A single error in Syntax causes your code not to compile or a port in the FW to be left unsecured. So, a single spelling mistake will more often than not be an immediate rejection. Harsh, yes, but if you can't error check a document when there is no pressure, how can you work for us when there is pressure to perform? When I was in high school, I worked in a shoe store at the mall. We got a resume once for a sales job that had, under the other interest section, special relationship with the one they call Satan. Yes, really. I wanted to interview her, just to see what she'd actually say in person. My manager vetoed that, sadly. Back in the day, I was hiring for an IT support role in a professional environment. An applicant's resume listed their email address as pornstar69. If that's any indication of the kind of judgment I can expect you to exercise on a daily basis, I don't want you anywhere near my team or my customers. Their photo. I don't need a picture of you, I'm hiring for an office job, not a modeling or acting gig. Text speak. Don't write looking for a good career or something. Use spell check, grammar check. Fake jobs or schools like School of Hard Knocks or Hustle Industries. CEO, I've seen both of these. I think it needs to be mentioned that for a lot of positions nowadays you are not going to be screened by a human first. Your resume will have to get by software. You may get tossed out for not having the correct keywords, formatting issues, etc. Really good to research what a particular company is using. Nudes. Like, any picture of yourself is probably going to get the resume thrown out because of potential lawsuits, but hearing that shriek of "Dear God" wife from the hotel manager's desk while they were going through resumes was hilarious. Like, bro, your butt was not that nice. Why did you attach it? A couple we didn't shred but definitely did not call and saved for future laughs. Can cook anything related to a potato, followed by the longest list of potato dishes I've ever seen, and this job did not involve food in any form. In special memberships section have a blockbuster card. The phrase "attention to detail" makes me look for any type of mistake to next more than I normally would. Because more often than not, there is some mistake which immediately contradicts the attention to detail. Pro tip: leave that phrase out. It never helps and can only make you look silly. I received a resume last week that had notes on it. Insert relevant skills here and maybe change font, fill this space with buzzwords. This was on his LinkedIn profile as well. If you can't pay attention to the resume you send out, I can't trust you'll pay attention to anything else. If your resume has multiple jobs, that's not a big deal. Maybe I'll even let a typo or two slide. But if every job ends with "from the state to present," then I'm going to pass on interviewing you for that $150,000 senior project manager role in Delray Beach. Looking at you, South Florida. I've been at my company over 25 years. 3 times we've received resumes from people who used to work for us and were fired for either missing too much time or insubordination. Those went right in the trash can. I guess they forget they already worked for us once. I didn't make it past the name line on someone's resume one time. We were hiring a CFO, and on the first page of Google revealed an SEC complaint for a 9-figure fraud. At the time, there wasn't a verdict on the books, but I wasn't gonna wait for one. See never. Any creative interpretations of common jobs such as delivery and service coordinator instead of pizza delivery driver, or household CEO CFO engineer instead of stay-at-home parent. It makes resumes hard to read and comes off as bullshitty, not charming or creative. I know some people think they're pretty slick, but when I look through resumes I hate the overused business jargon. Nothing turns me off more than a solid page of word salad that could be summed up in 2-3 sentences. It gives off a minimum word count essay vibe. I had someone who started off on their cover letter with "let me introduce myself. And I'm very excited to get to know your company." Yet, we just fired him a couple of weeks ago from a management position and he was applying for a different newly posted job.